And now I think.
Okay. Yeah, again, sorry about that. So the topic of my research was the economic impact of, I was measuring the economic impact of the Camino Aragonés on the micro enterprises along the routes. So the reason I decided to go with this path was that the Camino Aragonés is a touristic feature, and it's bound to have a sort of economic impact on the villages that it passes through. So the research was aimed at finding out how maybe the economic impact that it has, or any effects it has on the businesses, could bring more investors to the regions, or maybe if the presence of the businesses could attract more pilgrims who would otherwise avoid the route because of lack of business supplies or business facilities, sorry. So just a small history of the Camino Aragonés for those who might not know. It dates back to the 11th century, and it's one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. There are several UNESCO, several routes of the Camino Aragonés that are part of the UNESCO. Others of them are not part of the UNESCO heritage sites, and this route that passes through Navara is one of them. It covers a total distance of 170 kilometers from Somport to Puente la Reina, where it joins the Camino, the French way, also called the Camino Francis. This whole distance is could take an average walker maybe 6 or 7 days, and it has 7 stops in between. So if we are talking about the numbers that the route has seen in 2021, out of 178,912 walkers that walked the whole of the Camino routes, only 3,578 pilgrims walked the Camino Aragonés in specific. This is according to the numbers that were received at the tourist office in Santiago. This number only represents 2%. It only represents 2% of the total number of walkers that walked the whole route. So it's obviously like a very big sign that there's a very big gap in the number of tourists that choose these routes. So there are a specific type of businesses that cater to pilgrims on these routes, and some of these businesses include hostels, bars and restaurants, pharmacies, sports shops that would probably sell shoes or like hiking gear, souvenir shops for the pilgrims, and food stores. These businesses will either have maybe between 0 to 9 employees, because they're mostly small scale, and you will not find most of them having a lot of employees. Several of these businesses have been operating for through generations. They've been passed from one owner to another, probably like running the same business, and then when the owner is ready to retire, someone else will buy the business and continue like operating the same kind of business. These businesses are also seasonal in a way that they depend on pilgrims, so they are only operational when the pilgrims are around. So the outcome of the research yielded more, unfortunately, more negative results, more negative feedback from the business owners. They had very little to say, like in terms of positive impacts that they're getting from the Camino Aragonés, and some of these positive effects that they have experienced include that they have gotten a source of employment from the pilgrim route. They get an income. from the pilgrim route as compared to if they didn't have the business. And the Camino Aragonés has also enabled them to diversify products. If they were only serving the local people, then they wouldn't sell the things that they sell to the pilgrims. Some of the negative feedback that I received from the business operators include that they are not happy that the kind of business that they operate is seasonal. So this means that, like I had mentioned before, that when the pilgrims are not walking the route, then they do not have a market. This mostly happens during winter because it is not safe to walk when some of these routes are snowing and because of the cold. So the pilgrims would probably appear during the summer, and that is between April maybe to October, and then from November to February, these businesses would have to close down. There's also a lack of innovation in business creation. So you'll find that there's a lot of the same kind of business, the same type of businesses in one region. A small town of maybe 800, a town of like 800 occupants will probably have about 5 pharmacies in very close proximity, and bars and restaurants. So there's no innovation in like coming up with a different type of business. This brings about competition, and yeah, so the splitting of income makes them, it reduces the outcome of the business. I also found out that a lot of operators do not know of the kind of support that the government offers. So a lot of them replied that they do not receive any help from the government. They do not know of any assistance that the government offers to business operators. Yeah, some of these operators also complained about a poor work-life balance because of the limited profits that they get, they don't get to employ other people. So for the operators that maybe it's just one employee in an organization, you'll find that they work every day without a break, and they feel like they have, for them to be able to retire comfortably, they have to be open every day. For if they take a break, then it means they're losing business. And because some of these villages lie in some of these businesses are in villages that do not have that are facing depopulation, then you will find that they struggle finding labor. So they have to employ people from another town, maybe, for them to come to the village to work, and this is an extra cost. Some business owners also complained of frustrations from local municipal offices in setting up new businesses. They felt like they felt like it was a very long process to set up a business. So bureaucracy, the bureaucracy was too long for them. So the government of Navara has put up several initiatives to assist the business owners, and one of these initiatives is called the Navara Open Data Initiative, which is an online platform that was opened after the pandemic hit, where different government institutions provide information on the services that they provide. So this could be health, it could be security, information on tourism, businesses. Initially, there was a platform that was only providing information on governmental services, but now the platform offers information also about businesses. The government of Navara has also come up with the Navara Smart Specialization Strategy, which is a digital agenda which just tries to spread the use of proper broadband internet to the local villages. Another initiative is called Navara Emprende, which is a network that brings together several entrepreneurial support network. It brings together the efforts of several entrepreneurial initiatives and organizations in Navara. So through these organizations, they offer information like where to find financial aid. They offer information on empty businesses, empty like buildings that could be rented to business owners. They also offer information. They also link business owners who would like to sell their businesses and those ones who would like to buy their businesses. All this information is found on the website. There's several investment funds also available to micro enterprises. Like one of them is called Sodena, which is private, and Clave, which is mixed for public and private funds. So business owners can apply for these grants in order to grow their businesses. During COVID, speaking of investments, during COVID, the government of Navara also provided a grant to business owners who had accrued debts because of the pandemic. So anyone who had the problem could, who had a problem of maybe they lost business, they were unable to pay their debts, could access this grant after they fulfilled some criteria, and then they would get the money without an interest. So apart from what the government of Navara is doing, these are some of the recommendations that I feel could improve the situation, that could improve the operation of businesses for micro enterprises. So number one, the government of Navara should encourage innovation and creativity through offering grants and subsidies. This could be in terms of challenges or competitions. So entrepreneurs, for example, could be given the opportunity to compete for maybe the most unique or the most innovative business ideas that can be put in these small villages, and then they'll be given special grants to open the businesses. The local business owners should also be given regular training on how best to maybe manage their profits, or how best to source for the cheapest, cheapest supplies for their shops. They should also be given information on available government support programs, so that they know whether there's grants or whether there's subsidies or or even buildings, empty office spaces that they can use. Another measure that could help the micro enterprises would be the government of Navara should specifically fight depopulation by maybe building infrastructure and social facilities that would attract people to live in the villages. This in turn would increase the market size for the businesses. The government of Navara should also streamline the bureaucracy in setting up businesses, because this came up as one of the reasons why the local business owners were frustrated with operating in the areas that were investigated. This I might have mentioned before, but so the owners of businesses acknowledge that the population has affected their businesses, and here are some of the reasons, here are some of the ways that the population has affected their businesses. Number one, it has completely reduced their sales due to a lack of market, so they completely depend on the pilgrims. Like I had said before, there's a low supply of labor, so they have to bring in workers from very far and pay for their transportation, or pay more because they do not reside in the region. The population has also reduced innovation and creativity, because and the young people are the ones who come up mostly with new ideas, and if the villages are only occupied by older people, then the level of creativity and innovation, especially in terms of using technology, is limited. There are also lacks infrastructure in the business, like some places do not have hospitals, some places do not have even a pharmacy. So the business people are also inconvenienced. As much as there's no local citizens there, the business people are not encouraged to stay in these villages, even during the winter, past when they're doing their sales. After they do their sales, they feel like they need to move back to towns that have these social amenities so that they can be comfortable. So the next part is, so how do we reduce the population in the villages along the Camino Aragonés? I've mentioned some of the issues here, but so I'll just go through the ones that I didn't speak about. One of the issues that stands out with these villages is that some of them do not have a proper transport system. So some of the villages probably have one bus going to the village in a day. There's another place on the Camino Aragonés called a stop on the Camino Aragonés that is called Montreal, where you actually have to call the bus company the day before for you to be able to be picked from the road. And unfortunately, this would be a discouraging, this would be discouraging for the local people who might want to commute maybe from the big towns and live in the villages. If there's no transport, then that's a limiting factor. The government should also publicize the opportunities in the villages. If there's maybe land for agriculture, if there's an opportunity for a business, then this information should be made public so that interested investors can move to these villages and set up businesses. I also believe that migrants also have skills that can be used in innovation. Throughout the research, over I think 200 kilometers that I investigated, I only came around 2 businesses that were operated by immigrants, and I believe that immigrants can come up with disruptive ideas that can set up businesses which would be longer lasting, or yeah. So the natural green advantage that these villages possesses should also be capitalized on and promoted as a touristic feature, so that even when it's off season for pilgrims, maybe there would be more tourists coming, so that they can enjoy the space that the village provides. In the same breath, the local history, culture, the nature, and the foods that are provided or offered in these villages should also be promoted. And lastly, the government of Navara should come up with more opportunities for women, because women employment is one of the things that lack. Women are like the biggest victims of unemployment in rural areas that are depopulated. And research also shows that once women have the ability to draw other people, like to make their families probably stay in these villages more than if the men were employed there. So part of the research was to compare the Camino Aragonés with the Camino Frances, and also to compare with villages that do not lie on any Camino. This is a small tabulation of 3 villages from these regions, and Javier, a village in Camino Aragonés, has this is the size of the village, 46.7 square kilometers, and it has 112 people. This village has 2 hotels. It does not have a pharmacy. The nearest pharmacy is 9 kilometers away. It has 2 hostels, which and accommodation in this area ranges between 35 to 65 euros. This is a very big disadvantage, because the pilgrims definitely need a pharmacy. A lot of pilgrims would need to buy supplies to take care of their feet or their muscles that they've had to do as they walk, and the lack of a pharmacy in a village, in a place like Javier, is would be a reason why someone would opt to use another route, because what if you get an injury like at this stage, then what would happen to you? We are going to compare with a village on Camino Frances, and the village is called Thubiri, and it has a size in square kilometers of 5.08, with a population of 466 inhabitants. This is almost 4 times whatever, it's almost 4 times the population of Javier, yet it's much smaller. It has 5 bars and restaurants, 1 pharmacy, and 12 hotels. 12 accommodation options. This is either a hotel or a hostel. The other village that we're going to look at is not on the Camino, and it's called Gallipian. It's bigger than any of these other villages. It's 56.92 square kilometers, but it has the least amount of inhabitants, with 102 inhabitants. It has 1 hotel. It does not have any pharmacies, and it has the hotel is what serves as the bar and restaurant. Otherwise, there's a fish shop and a barber shop in the village. So what you can deduce from this is that the village that is not on the Camino Aragonés is suffering a bit more due to depopulation as compared to the villages that are on the Camino Aragonés. However, it still faces the same problems of a dependency on tourism for business, and they also struggle with the issue of labor, because they have to also employ people from the biggest nearest town, which is Pamplona. This is just a summary of the size, a summary of Javier. You can see how population has reduced since 1981 to 2021, where when this is in specific, these numbers represent more females. There's more females in this village than males, where 75% of the occupants are females and 25% are males. Out of this number, if you break it down into age groups, there's only 5 people who are between 0 to 17 years. 37 people are between 18 to 64 years, and after that, 65 years and above is the biggest population, is the biggest size of the population, with 64 people. So this shows you that the number of young people are very few in the village. So after the research, I came up together with the participants. We found that there's ways that maybe the government can use to promote the Camino Aragonés, and one of these includes a very rigorous social media campaign, maybe with the use of influencers who should be paid to do vlogs, YouTube videos, to do blogs, to make social media posts on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. These would target the younger population and just spread the beauty that comes with the Camino Aragonés further. There should be a dedicated government blog that publicizes the Camino Aragonés with a customer support service of volunteers, because a lot of the pilgrims complained that they did not know where to find enough information about the Camino Aragonés. So a blog like this and with a customer service would be would provide support to those who would be interested to walk on the route. Another suggestion would be to unite pilgrims from several starting points, because this route is very lonely and secluded. Some pilgrims express that they're afraid to walk on the route alone because of safety issues, which most likely do not exist because there hasn't been any reports of insecurity. But in order to support such pilgrims who would want to walk on that route but not alone, then maybe there should be a central meeting point where pilgrims can start and walk in a group or walk together separately, but within the same, maybe in the same day. There should be transport provided from popular starting points to Somport. This is the beginning of the route, and to other parts of the route. This is because from Pamplona, for example, if you wanted to walk the Camino Aragonés, you would have to take a bus or a train to Zaragoza, and then from Zaragoza, then you'd have to take another bus to another region for several hours to Haka, and then connect from Haka to some port for you to be able to start. So providing maybe regular transport, probably several dates of the month where people would book, and then transport is organized for them to be taken directly to the beginning of the route, would help sort out the problem with transportation. The bodies in charge should also organize free curated trips where information is provided and company is provided, but the pilgrims take care of the cost of accommodation and food. The historical, cultural, and gastronomical values of the villages should be promoted a bit more. Some regions do not have, some stages on this route do not have hostels, and building hostels would be one of the ways to encourage pilgrims to walk on these routes. And lastly, the local business people should be supported in coming up with mobile cafes and bars, or just shops that supply pilgrims. This is because, like I said before, we do not have enough shops on the route. We do not have enough facilities or enough supply stores on the route for the pilgrims. So in conclusion, the Camino Aragonés has the potential to popularize the villages. The coming of pilgrims to these villages would also make the businesses grow. And when the businesses grow, they'll bring in more pilgrims, because the pilgrims will have supplies for their work. This will attract entrepreneurs and laborers to the villages. However, I don't think that the Camino Aragonés is the only solution, for the problem of depopulation, because it is a seasonal kind of phenomena, and during winter, when there's no pilgrims, the villages will stay empty. Maybe it will only attract people to the villages for the periods when there's pilgrims. So I believe that the bigger burden falls with the government in building infrastructure and social amenities, availing internet, and providing incentives for people to settle in such villages in order maybe to deal with depopulation. Thank you very much. That is the end of my presentation. If there's any questions, I would like to answer them now.
Thank you very much, Maureen. That was very nice, and I think you presented rather well the things that we were doing here in Navara. Since I am the person perhaps who knows more about it, it's a bit unfair for me to be the one who asks the questions. So I don't know, Audrone, do you have any questions?
Yes, I have. Thank you so much, Maureen, for your great presentation and your great work. I think all of us, we can see that you did a great work, actually. And I think this research, it was a little bit challenging, yeah. So I think we would like to know what was the biggest challenges to conduct this research. And this is my first question, and later I will ask my second question, okay?
I think the biggest research for me was language barrier. Several times I went out to the villages, and I couldn't communicate with the business owners. So this was my biggest challenge until my colleagues came in and helped with the translation, is when I actually got proper data from business people.
Great. So actually you used your social capital, yeah,
Yeah.
and they help you. That's great. Okay, in your presentation, you mentioned that one of the negative impacts is seasonal business, yeah? So I just would like to raise a question. If this seasonal business can be defined as a negative impact, because as I understand from their position, from business owners' position, they see it as a negative, yeah, effect to them. But do they have maybe possibility somehow to convert their business to something other ways? Then there are no these pilgrims, then there are no tourists. Maybe they can create, sell their products for other regions or for other markets. And I'm curious, do they have this interest or not really? Or they are really dependent on this pilgrims and the particular this seasons when they are coming?
So most of them said that they held another job. They
Okay.
yeah, they only operated the businesses when there's pilgrims walking the route. But when it's a low season, then they have to hold another job in other places. They also expressed that if these regions were not depopulated, then they would fully be present in the village. Then that in winter they would also have a market for their products. But because the villages were depopulated, then they have to shut down. They have to close the businesses during winter. Did I answer your question?
Yes. Now it's a little bit more clear for me. Yeah. So it really, they really depend on this seasons. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Maureen.
Yes, I would like to say something about that too, actually, because I think all tourism, at least in Europe, all tourism is seasonal.
Yeah.
Right? This is a universal problem. So it could be interesting to see how other regions cope with that issue. The Camino de Santiago is actually something that takes up around, I would say, 8 months of the year. So it's not as if it's something that only happens in the summer holidays. It begins basically in March and it goes on. Now in October we still have a large number of pilgrims going through every day.
We can, what you said is true, Ruth, but my research in Olite, for example, proved that the businesses there do not close. Olite is a bigger town, of course, but if you compare it to a town like Estea, Olite, the business owners in Olite say they do not close because they get tourists for the castle. So the same issue did not come up on that side. Like I had said before, I expected more positive feedback on how the Camino affects the businesses, but a lot of people were actually very, I would say, negative in their responses, interestingly.
That's very interesting, actually. I hadn't expected that.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yes, I think in your paper you also mentioned some effects of this current war in Ukraine, and today you didn't mention in presentation that, but they also, I think, business owners mentioned some effects on their business. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Some business owners say that the prices of their supplies have really gone up. They are buying things for a lot more than things cost a lot more than they did before, and that pilgrims especially are not understanding that the war has affected, especially the food, the businesses that sell food. They don't understand that the war has affected them, and once they hear the prices, they do not buy from them. They'll probably buy supplies from wherever they are coming from, or yeah. So they also complain that because of the war, the prices of electricity and water, just basically utility bills, have really gone up, and this has reduced their profits. They are spending a lot more on operations.
Thank you, Maureen, for your explanation.
Thank you. If there's no other question, I think that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Maureen. That was very nice. Your presentation was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Thank you, Maureen. Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here. Ruth, I'll send you the documents.
Yes, please. Yes, and the reports. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maureen.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.